Tom Verducci, Sports Illustrated senior baseball writer, New York Times bestselling author, co-host of the Book of Joe podcast with Joe Madden. Did a great job at the World Series. Tom, if I said, what do you think is going to happen in Game 7 before Game 7 unfolded, you would have said what?
I liked Toronto going into that game because they were home, but I did not expect that Yoshinobu Yamamoto was going to pitch in that game at all. I really didn't. It wasn't on my bingo card that after pitching Game 6, he'd come back the next day. That was a difference maker.
What do you think was the turning point in the game?
Well, the home run by Miggy Rojas, right? I mean, the Jays are 2 outs away from the first World Series in 32 years. You got your closer on the mound. It's a 3-2 count, number 9 hitter. I understand you can't walk him because Ohtani is on deck. He's the go-ahead run, right? So you have to throw a strike. What I didn't like was throwing a slider. When you have to throw a strike, that's a strike-to-strike pitch. I'd rather just throw a fastball, challenge him, and it was a hanger. I mean, it's a home run that you didn't see coming, kind of like that Rajay Davis home run in 16.
Yeah.
This happened to be 2 outs from the end of the game. So that was the turning point. And after that, I just thought the air came out of the building. It was going to be tough to beat the Dodgers at that point, given them such a renewed life right there. But listen, that was as stunning of a home run as I've seen in the World Series. Miggy Rojas.
You bring up a great point because you got Ohtani on deck. And you're just kind of thinking, I just got to get through this. He's the 9th hitter. Let me just get through this so I don't have to worry, about Ohtani with anybody on. And I mean, there were so many little moments here, but that's what makes up these great games. It's small moments that can lead to big moments as well. And that's what was fascinating about this is both teams had those moments. You either capitalized or you didn't.
Totally, Dan. I think that's what made this series and especially this game stand apart. I've been at a lot of great games, obviously, but you can go back, like watching a great movie, right? You go back and watch it a second, third, fourth time. It never gets old because you go back and you refine something like, oh, I forgot about that point or that line in this movie. How about Andy Pages going into the game? Dan, I'm sitting there next to the Dodgers dugout. Andy Pages was as involved in the game as I was. He's sitting there with his hoodie on, just watching the game, and all of a sudden, Danny Lehman, the bench coach, runs down there and says, "Get in there. This is bases loaded, 9th inning." And he just ripped off his hoodie, hadn't warmed up at all, runs out to center field, and 2 batters later, there he is playing Superman, jumping over Kike Hernandez to literally save the game. Right? That looked, for all intents and purposes, like Ernie Clement was going to be the World Series MVP. The Jays were going to be world champions. And he flies out of nowhere. I mean, he must have ran more than 100 feet to get that ball. That was one of the great World Series catches of all time because of what was on the line.
But was it, okay, we know the result, but was it a smart play by him in the moment?
They tell you as a center fielder, go get what you can get, right? So I think it was in the moment because he was fearless going after that ball. I'm not sure that Kike would have caught it over the shoulder with his face about 5 feet from the wall at that point. So I think it was a play that had to be made. There was a risk, obviously. They collide and the ball falls. I mean, what a way that would have been to lose the World Series. But I love the aggressiveness from that kid. He didn't hit it all in the postseason. He's got a play he'll remember forever.
Yeah, I agree with you. Center field, you have control. You have license to go after because of the angle. And that's why I thought, okay, you may bull over your teammate, but you have a better angle than he does. And he ended up holding on to it. One thing that I thought was so small, well, maybe it wasn't touched on as much, that you have IKF, he's not off third base, Tom. And on contact, I just didn't know why he didn't have a little bit more of a lead, knowing if it's a ground ball, you're going. And I thought that it shouldn't have been close at home. I thought that he would have been down the line a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great point. And in real time, I had the same reaction. But looking at it again, and a lot of teams teach this in that situation, shorter lead at third, because the worst thing that can happen is a line drive, and you get doubled up and the game's over. So there's more of the emphasis on a better secondary than getting the longer primary lead at third base. He's a smart baseball player. I am not going to question him on that. I think he was. We already saw a line drive to Muncy in that game. I don't know how he caught other than self-defense. You cannot get doubled up at third base. I think that's the right way to go. You can argue he could have been a little more aggressive, but on this case, I'll err on the side of IKF being a smart ball player, making the right call.
Was that the greatest game that you've ever been a part of?
I have a hard time putting it up above Game 7 of 2016. I still go back to that 17-minute rain delay, that pregnant pause in the game. You're like, the game is tied in the World Series, and we're going to stop and have a 17-minute timeout with two teams that hadn't won in forever. And that was another game, by the way, that had so many twists and turns. It wasn't just the end. It was all the pivot points in the course of the game where history was changing minute by minute. This is right up there, though, because, again, I think there was so much to absorb in this game, Dan, actually the whole series, where I don't know how many times you thought this, like the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. The Jays are going to win the World Series, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have written any better as far as cliffhangers go.
And Dave Roberts had one of the great late inning managerial games in the history of the sport. Everything he did worked.
Totally. I thought all throughout. I mean, when you think about Will Smith, he moved Will Smith up to the 2-hole because the Jays kept walking Shohei Ohtani, and Mookie wasn't swinging a hot bat, and Will Smith was. So I think it was Game 5. He moved Will Smith up to number 2, where he just doesn't hit, but it was because he was the hotter bat. He's the one who hits the home run, 2 outs, bases empty in the 11th. Getting Mookie down in the order for Game 6, he said, I want him in an RBI spot. Maybe that'll help him relax, just swing for a base hit. He had that huge 2-strike, 2-run, 2-out hit. Really won the game for him in 6. So you're right. The defense there, Miggy, I mean, just the idea that, he told us before Game 6, he put Miguel Rojas in the game, who hadn't had a base hit for a month, literally 31 days since he had a base hit. Put him in the game because as he told us, he's such a glue guy and means so much to this team. I couldn't see going home losing the World Series without giving him a chance to play. It had nothing to do with analytics or numbers. It's a look in the eye that says, if I'm going down with this guy. And not just the home run, but how about his defensive plays? I mean, the pick he made on Kike's double play in Game 6 to end the game, wow, that was a great play. And then, of course, you mentioned the play thrown out IKF at the plate. So you're right. I mean, Dave Roberts made some, I call them blink moments there in the course of a game where you have to make a quick decision. And it seemed like, if not all of them, most of them certainly worked out in his favor. I thought he had a great series.
Tom Verducci, Sports Illustrated, senior baseball writer, Fox Sports on MLB. Ohtani's legacy, I don't know, did he get a boost here in the last month?
Yeah, I mean, greatest game ever. 10 strikeout game with 3 home runs. Yeah, I mean the 18-inning game 9 times on base.
Is
the postseason
that's
record
the greatest
6.
World Series game of all time, turned in by one player?
On base, that's going to be tough to beat. 2 home runs, 4 extra base hits for the first time in 108 years in the World Series. Yeah, I mean, then he goes out and pitches the next day, 17 hours later. Now, I thought he was gassed, Dan. I mean, I really think there's a point where even Ohtani is showing E on the gas tank, but he pitched as well as he could. But I think his legacy, Dan, is cemented again by he's a winning ball player.
Yeah.
He joins the Dodgers. They've won 2 world championships since. He got to pitch in the World Series for the first time. This was the first time we saw Shohei, pitching and hitting in a World Series. And last year he had the shoulder issue early against the Yankees. He was certainly compromised there. But yeah, he keeps going further and further away from anybody else who ever played the game. It's not sacrilegious to say this is the best baseball player who has ever played this game, and he keeps making it more certain.
If Babe Ruth knew that Ohtani would do this later on, would Babe have stayed a pitcher and a hitter?
That is a great question because you just reminded me of this baseball writers dinner in New York years ago. It was after Canseco goes 40-40, and Mickey Mantle was at the dinner. And it was late in the night, so you can imagine how Mickey was keeping himself hydrated. So after Canseco got the award, Mickey actually wanted to go back up to the podium, and he said, listen, if I knew you guys make such a big deal out of 40-40, I'd have done it like 5 times. But, going back to the Babe, he actually said he really never had 2 full seasons, like start to finish, of two-way play. And he actually said after the second one, it's just too hard. I think his heart's, based on what I've read, was really into hitting, and that was his love, where I think Shohei's DNA begins with pitching. And Babe Ruth said it's just too hard physically to keep up. I want to hit, and, I don't want to feel, sore-armed or whatever playing the outfield because there was no DH. So I don't think the Babe would do it. The question is, how long can Shohei do this, right? And watching the physical wear and tear on him, especially after that 18-inning game, Dan, I started to think we better enjoy this because I don't think it can last much longer. But then I asked Dave Roberts, and he said, I don't see any reason why he can't keep doing this two-way pitching and hitting. So 20, 25 starts a year for years and years and years. This guy is just amazing.
And Vlad Guerrero, what an incredible series and a losing effort. And you saw how emotional he was after the game. He was in tears. He did just about everything possible to win a World Series.
I'm glad you brought him up, Dan, because we knew he was a great hitter. I think this whole postseason, especially the World Series, pointed out what a great baseball player this guy is. I mean, I remember a game when Max Scherzer was pitching in Seattle in the ALCS, and he's got a problem tipping his pitches. And Vlad was the one in the first inning who stopped him and went to the mound and say, hey, watch your hands here. Runners are picking it up. There was a throw at third base. Barger threw the runner out at third instead of throwing home. It was Vlad who told him, throw to third, not to home. The defensive plays, I counted 3 great ones he made just in Game 7. And you're right. You saw the emotion on his face, how much this meant to him. The swings he put on the baseball, Dan, if you go back and look at it, this wasn't a guy trying to hit home runs. This was a guy doing whatever he could to get on base, shortening up sometimes, even early in counts, sitting on pitches. I was blown away by Vlad and his all-around game.
Great stuff. Are you now off? You're not doing anything?
I wish I could say that, but no, it's starting at MLB Network. We start awards week next week, start lining up the finalists for the awards tonight on MLB Network. Of course, everybody wants to wait for the AL MVP vote. That's going to be a cliffhanger, Judge and Raleigh. So I'm not getting on a plane, so that's good.
Good. Thanks again, Tom.
Hey, my pleasure.
All right, that's Tom Verducci. He was there with Fox Sports MLB with the World Series and co-host of the Book of Joe podcast with Joe Madden.